Book the Third, Gore, The Tale of Miggery Sal. Chapter 24. A handful of cigarettes, a red tablecloth, and a hen. Again, reader, we must go backward before we can go forward. With that said, here begins a short history of the life and times of Miggery Sal, a girl born into this world many years before the mouse Despereaux and the rat Chiaroscuro, a girl born far from the castle, a girl named for her father's favorite prize-winning pig. Have you caught on to that all three of these characters' names have something that's kind of negative? Or kind of a little have a little spin to them? Miggery Sal was 6 years old when her mother, holding on to Mig's hand and staring directly into Mig's eyes, died. "Ma," said Mig, "Ma, couldn't you stay with me?" "Oh," said her mother, "who is that? Who is that holding my hand?" "It's me, Ma, Miggery Sal." "Ah, child, let me go." "But I want you to stay here," said Mig, wiping first at her runny nose and then at her runny eyes. "You want," said the mother. "Yes," said Mig, "I want." "Ah, child, why does it matter what you are wanting?" said her mother. She squeezed Mig's hands once and twice, and then she died, leaving Mig alone with her father, who on a market day in spring, soon after his wife's death, sold his daughter into service for a handful of cigarettes, a red tablecloth, and a hen. Does that sound familiar to you? Surely it couldn't be the prisoner that Chiaroscuro stole the red tablecloth from. Let's find out. "Papa," said Mig, when her father was walking away from her with a hen in his arm, a cigarette in his mouth, and the red tablecloth draped across his shoulders like a cape. He sold her to be a servant. "Go on, Mig," he said. "You belong to that man now." "But I don't want to, Papa," she said. "I want to go with you." She took hold of the red tablecloth and tugged on it. "Lord, child," her father said, "and who is asking you what you want?" Well, that's what her mom said. "Go on now." He untangled her fingers from the cloth and turned her in the direction of the man who had bought her. Mig watched her father walk away, the red tablecloth billowing out behind him. He left his daughter, and reader, as you already know, he did not look back. Not even once. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine your father selling you for a tablecloth, a hen, and a handful of cigarettes? Close your eyes, please, and consider it for just a moment. Done? I hope that the hair on the back of your neck stood up as you thought of Mig's fate and how it would be if it were your own. Poor Mig. What will become of her? You must, frightened though you may be, read on and see for yourself. Reader, it's your duty. I see a big connection between Miggery Sal and Despereaux. Despereaux's father turned him into the mouse council. Miggery Sal's father sold her for a hen, cigarettes, and a red tablecloth. Oh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Chapter 25, A Vicious Circle. Miggery Sal called the man who purchased her Uncle, as he said she must. And also, as he said she must, Mig tended to Uncle's sheep and cooked Uncle's food and scrubbed Uncle's kettle. She did all this without a word of thanks or praise from the man himself. Another unfortunate act of life with Uncle was that he very much liked giving Mig what he referred to as a good clout to the ear. In fairness to Uncle, it must be reported that he did always inquire whether or not Mig was interested in receiving the clout. Well, let me just see if I can figure this out. All right, if her ears, unfortunate towards her ears, it sounds like he either flicked her ears or hit her in her ears. Their daily exchanges went something like this. "Uncle, I thought I told you to clean the kettle." "Mig, I cleaned it, Uncle. I cleaned it good." "Uncle, it's filthy. You have to be punished, won't ye?" Mig, gore, Uncle, I cleaned the kettle. Uncle, are you saying that I'm a liar, girl? Mig, no, Uncle. Uncle, do ye want a good clout to the ear then? Mig, no, thank you, Uncle, I don't. Alas, Uncle seemed to be as entirely unconcerned with what Mig wanted as her mother and father had been. The discussed clout to the ear was always delivered. Delivered, I'm afraid, with such a great deal of enthusiasm on Uncle's part, and received with absolutely no enthusiasm at all on the part of Meg. These clouts were alarmingly frequent, and Uncle was scrupulously fair in paying attention to both the right and left side of Miggery Sal. So it was that after a time the young Mig's ears came to resemble not so much ears as pieces of cauliflower stuck to each side of her head. So when I think about cauliflower, I know it's really bumpy and kind of rough looking, and so that's what the author's saying her ears look like after receiving these clouts time and time again. And they became about as useful to her as pieces of cauliflower. That is to say, that they all but cease their functioning as ears. So that makes me think it caused damage to her ears, and now she can't hear very well. Words for Mig lost their sharp edges, and then they lost their edges altogether and became blurry, blankety things that she had a great deal of trouble making any sense out of. The less Mig heard, the less she understood. The less she understood, the more she did wrong. And the more she did wrong, the more clouts to the ear she received, and the less she heard. This is what is known as a vicious cycle, and Miggery Sal was right in the center of it, which is not, reader, where anybody would want to be. But then, as you know, what Miggery Sal wanted had never been much concern to anyone else. So I imagine what Miggery Sal could hear would sound something like this. But then you know what Miggery Sal wanted, but never much concern to anyone. Boy, you can't hear that at all. I just read that last sentence again. Ah, bless her heart.